He's the leader of Michigan's open carry gun movement. He's always wearing his pistol on his belt and always willing to talk to the media.
That is until now. Problem solver Rob Wolchek says the president of the group may openly carry his weapon, but he sure hasn't been too open about his past. Rob?
Hugh, Monica, this guy looks good in person, but on paper, court papers, he seems a little bit off target. Do the people that follow you as the leader of your organization know what kind of character you are? Scott Webb is the leader of Michigan's open carry gun movement.
I'm not going to rely on the police to protect myself or my family. I take that upon myself.
Straight shooting Scott's been on TV, in newspapers, educating the public on how to carry a pistol on your hip responsibly and legally, creating controversies by organizing his followers to openly carry their weapons in their everyday lives and at public events.
I'm happy that's gone this way. It's saddening that it took this long, but it's a victory for everyone's rights.
So you've seen him on TV doing his, hey, I'm an open carry guy?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
It makes me sick.
Seems the president of the group, whose motto is nothing to hide, actually has a lot to hide.
They don't know the real Scott. They have no clue. And one day he's going to snap with that gun and he's going to hurt somebody.
Scott Webb and guns, open carry, or just plain scary. Amber Heiser here says you were threatening to kill or physically injure her. And she sure isn't the only one. Are you scared of him still?
I am very scared. Very, very. I'm scared doing this interview.
Cynthia was married to Scott Webb and had a child with him.
At first, it was wonderful. It was like I found the man of my dreams.
She had no idea he'd already been married at least twice before and had at least 3 other kids, but that was the least of her worries. You ended up filing a PPO against him?
Yes.
For
assault and just scared of for my life.
She says Scott hated her and her son, but loved his guns.
You should be able to carry a gun if it's our right, but not the wrong person. Do you know what I mean? He's not mentally stable.
Cynthia says Scott threatened to harm her and himself, sometimes putting the barrel of a gun in his mouth. He was not very responsible with the gun.
No, not at all.
Sarah was married to Scott Webb, too. She says he threatened harming her and himself.
He had backed me into a closet in our apartment, and that was not only the last straw of I wasn't going to put up with suicide threats, but I wasn't going to let him hurt me.
Sarah ended up filing a personal protection order on Scott Webb, too. You feel very uncomfortable with this guy carrying a gun?
Yeah.
And then there's this tender love story. Chance meeting at Long Branch leads to marriage. Scott swept U.S. Army Private First Class Priscilla Blues off her feet and married her. And guess how this ended up? You're right. She got a protective order against Scott, too. But there's more. Scott also got a bolo. Be on the lookout for Scott Andrew Webb, height 6'4", weight 195. This subject broke into a residence in our local jurisdiction earlier today, armed with a handgun. Mr. Webb has made threats to PFC Blues, and it's believed Mr. Webb is attempting to kill her. He is considered armed and dangerous. Remember, this is a guy who goes everywhere with a handgun on his hip. And when Scott Webb, who was never in the military, isn't marching in a Memorial Day parade like some kind of a hero, he's teaching others how to safely open carry their weapons, collecting donations for his nonprofit group, and encouraging his followers to come out and wear their weapons at places like this, a Michigan open carry dinner at a Canton restaurant. These people don't just come armed with some big pieces. Many have extra clips of ammo strapped on their belts. But who can blame them? This place looks like it caters to a pretty rough clientele. But this event is nothing compared to this open carry display.
It's a police station. We don't allow weapons. You can't do that. It's right here. It doesn't matter.
That's Scott inside the lobby of the Wayne County Sheriff's Department.
If you see your driver's license, so thank you. Well, thank you. Okay.
Scott doesn't hand over his ID. He's acting like a big man, exercising his right to open carry.
There's a sign on our door. Did you notice that when you came in our door?
I understand that, but being a public building, you can't restrict the carry of firearms. Well, is that the only...
This is a police station.
It doesn't matter.
See that black band on his badge? That means an officer's been killed recently in the line of duty. Can you blame these cops for being nervous when some goof with a gun shows up to exercise his rights? After After all, it was only a few miles from here that a crazed gunman ambushed Detroit police officers inside the 6th precinct.
Why do you want to give us a hard time?
I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm following the law.
Why won't you follow our directions?
Because I'm following the law, and I don't feel I should be told to do something when I'm not committing a crime.
Scott acts like an expert on the law, but he's no lawyer, never been a cop. He's just a guy with a gun.
It's perfectly legal for Scott Webb to open carry his gun. He's never been convicted of a felony. All of his personal protection orders have either been dismissed or have expired. But it's clear for the past 10 years, Scott Webb's been scaring a lot of people.
Like Teresa Bowles. She applied for a PPO on Scott saying, "He wants to kill me." And in 2008, a woman named Isabella filed for a PPO on Scott Webb. In September 2010, Scott posted this on the Michigan Open Carry website. "We must hold ourselves to a higher standard in our actions and our words." That very same month, a woman named Amber filed for yet another personal protection order against Scott Webb. His ex-wife says Scott Webb has mental problems. According to a sworn statement from Priscilla Webb Blues, Mr. Webb has also been committed twice to 2 separate mental institutions. And Scott Webb himself admits he's had problems, at least when he's trying to get out of paying child support. This is a request to a judge from Scott Webb claiming he is unable to work due to mental health treatment. And it's at one of his child support court appearances that I catch up to Scott. This is the only place I've ever seen him without his gun.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Michigan Open Carry. You're the president, right?
Yeah.
You say here we must hold ourselves to a higher standard in our action and our words. Well, don't you have a whole bunch of PPOs out against you? Or you have had them? Well, you've had them before, haven't you?
Remember, Scott Webb usually loves talking to the media, but not today.
Hey, Scott, as the president, don't you have an obligation to talk to me?
My personal life, no, I do not.
Well, you're the head of this organization. These people are following you. Do they know that you have a be on the lookout
No, I do
for
not.
Andrew Scott Webb? Do the people that follow you as the leader of your organization know what kind of character you are?
And if you read those files, you see that everything was dismissed.
Hey, man, why don't you stop and talk to me? You're not so tough without your gun, are you? Come on, stop and talk to me. Why don't you
Turn the
stop and
cameras
talk
off,
to me?
I'll talk to you. But it's a private, personal issue that I don't need broadcasted.
This is not a personal issue. You got all kinds. These are public issues, man.
Then read them. And please don't view my car. I got sensitive information in here.
With that, Scott drives off in his 1999 Geo Tracker chock full of sensitive information and who knows what else.
Hey, Scott Webb, I'm going to exercise my right to put you in the Hall of Shame. Now, this is not an anti-gun story. Personally, I don't have anything against guns, as long as they're in the hands of mentally stable, responsible citizens. Scott Webb may act like an expert on the law, but let me stress, if you do decide to open carry a weapon, you'd better get legal advice from someone other than a guy like Webb. Hugh Monica?
Now, he claims this is his personal life, but a personal protection order is a public document.
These are all public documents. This is all available to people in court. Once you get in, I mean, everybody's had some arguments with their wives and girlfriends, but very few of us have had anything go that far.
And
once
when
it
you
gets
see
to court,
history,
it's public.
Yeah, and when you see a history like this, what are we talking? 3 or 4 PPOs, six PPOs
from
in
what
all.
I can see. Yeah, so that's a lot. That's a lot of women that are afraid of him.
And you have to wonder if members of his own group know that he's been involved in this kind of litigation.
Well, he says he's going to protect his family by carrying the gun. I'm just wondering who's going to protect his family against him.
Several of his ex-wives are certainly afraid of him. All right,
Thanks,
Rob, thank you.